Welcome to Brave Healer Productions. We are waking the world up to what's possible for healing, one brave word at a time.
So, did you guys know that writing a single poem can reduce cortisol levels, the stress hormone, up to 25%? Yeah, poetry. Welcome, everyone. I'm Laura DeFranco, the CEO of Brave Healer Productions, where we are helping the world experience what's possible. And here today to help me with that mission are some of the amazing author poets of one of our newest expert collaborations. You guys, this one is 100 Poems and Possibilities for Healing. This is volume 2. I'm so excited and so grateful to have these poets here today, and really this growing community of poets getting their words out in the world in a much bigger way. Poetry for me has always been a healing modality. So that statistic I shared with you in the beginning, yeah, that's a big deal to me. Like, this can help you heal, right? So, I have some pretty amazing people with me here today, and they have a couple things to say about poetry. They're all going to share a poem from the book for you guys today. So, let me start by introducing our first poet for you. And I'm going to bring her up to the stage right now. This is Melissa Princess Best. How are you doing today, Princess?
I'm good, Laura. How are you?
I am doing so good. Any day that is about poetry is a good day for me. And I'm so
Absolutely.
grateful to you for being here. You guys, Melissa Princess Best has over 20 years of experience in arts-based education and empowerment, and is the founder of the Healicist Institute, where she helps women and girls heal and grow through the power of hip hop, theater, and poetry. Of course, poetry. Oh my gosh. Um, Melissa, Princess, why poetry for you?
Poetry for me is a language of love, but it's also about the interpretive language of the people. Poetry is the extension of, it's the remix. It's the I grew up in a community where you had to code switch often. And so poetry is like the code switch for the general public's language. And when we hear it, when we hear the sound of it, it um it echoes to us in a way that's loving. I feel like it's loving language. And sometimes you can have 10 people say the same thing, but when they put it in a poem, when they put it in a rhyme, it just resonates differently. So that's why poetry for me.
Ooh, I love that answer. I love the way you kicked that off today. A code switch. All right. So you have a poem to share with us today. Would you take a minute to introduce it and read for us?
Yeah, this one is actually sort of apropos because you'll meet one of the authors later who actually kind of inspired this because it was based off of a writing prompt. So I attended Write Like a Woman, and at Write Like a Woman, she told us to start with this prompt. She changes everything, and we were to free write from that perspective of she changes everything, and I was like, huh. And all of this rush of emotion started happening because I was thinking about all the things that I needed to change, that I had recently changed, and that I still had not changed. And I am one of those people who takes my writing. Beyonce says sometimes we write the songs, we write the poems so that we can heal. Some people assume that we've already healed, but sometimes we write it to give ourselves permission to heal. So this is called She Changes Everything. Let's see. Can you still see me?
We've got your photo there now.
Okay, cool. Okay.
No worries.
Okay, cool. All right. I just wanted to make sure that I had y'all in there. Okay, so give me 1 second. I had it pulled up and then there you go. Ah, she changes everything. She changes what fed her, what she ate. She changed what entered her, what left, what stayed. She changed her moves so that she could disrupt her patterns and cycles. She changed her autopilot cycles, distractions and distractions. She became the manifestation of her attraction. She became the joy in her laughing. She started fasting, talking to God, which should be on the regular. However, she be bullshitting. Now admitting that her spirit needs tending to. Them cycles have a season, boo. The laundry is clean, rinsed, and dried too. I don't need a new me. I need a renewed me. Not a reset, but a mindset shift ruling my thoughts, my words, my actions, put into application. No longer lying to myself with this degree in act. She changes because it was time. The rhyme, the reason, the season has passed. The lesson is learned. It's my birthday because it's a new year. Why? Because she is I. She changes everything.
Oh my, let's give her some snaps and claps for that. Don't you love when an entire poem comes through from a prompt? Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
Princess, thank you so much for being a part of this project and for being here today to share that with us.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And just reading it out loud really just it was a reminder and reminder of the healing.
You guys, every time we have the privilege and honor of reading something out loud like that, it's another layer of healing. No matter how many times we've read it out loud before today, no matter who we've read it out loud to, this is a part of what I call brave story medicine. It's a stage of brave. And when you're brave enough to share words out loud in front of an audience or whatever, this is therapeutic at another level. So I love that Princess said that just now, because y'all might think we've gotten to the other side, but this is the modality we're using to move to the other side where we feel better, a little more healed, a little bit more clear, right? I love this so much, you guys. Okay, let me introduce to you our next poet. Let me bring Pauline up to the stage. Give me just a moment. Pauline, how are you doing today?
Hello, Laura. I am fantastic.
I'm glad. I'm so happy to have you here today. You guys, Pauline Pinedo empowers salon professionals and small business owners to enjoy what they do with the people they do business with through creating processes and practicing positive intelligence. So, Pauline, why poetry for you?
I think I think poetry is a way to get out what's inside and be able to express it in sort of a safe environment. When you've got a lot going on inside, just being able to start writing and putting your words on paper is, to me, was very therapeutic, which is kind of why I started writing poetry in the first place.
No doubt about that. All right. So you also have a poem to share with us today. Would you take a minute to introduce it and then read for us?
So my story in the poetry book was around healing, as you know, as it resonates with, Kaniki and Princess. Like, it's all about sort of like that loving yourself first. And I think in order to show up for people, you really need to be able to love yourself and see your worth. I needed to be able to separate my memories of emigrating to a new country, feeling like I was just so different, and the story of my family and how that played out with my father. My father passed away when I was 26, so there was a lot of healing I needed to do around that story. And so my poetry in the book reflects the story of my family and the story of my father. And so this is a memory that I had, and it made me very sad, this memory, but I was able to express it in this poetry, in this poem. So that's what I'm going to read for you today. I see him from afar, unwashed clothes clinging to a broken frame, worn out shoes and stringy hair, face in need of shaving, cold, lifeless eyes, walking through the darkness, head down, avoiding the light. It's where he's made a home. He doesn't see, he has no eyes, he hears no sound, one foot in front of the other, a compass without a needle, any direction will do. His story holds no interest to others. He lives in a void. He's forgotten the arms that once held him. His life, it goes uncelebrated. Who counts his years? Who tracks his path? Who would miss him if he simply disappeared? I know his story, and I've seen better days when he walked a little taller and leaned less into the wind. He is the reminder that the darkness does exist, but there's beauty to his story if we just took the time to ask, to look upon his troubled face that covers what's within, to see a light that still flickers deep inside in the beginning before his journey began. He walked into the night and never looked back, except for a brief moment with regret for what he left behind. I see him in every unwashed face, in every broken frame, knowing that if I were to stop and ask, their story might be the same.
Thank you for that beautiful poem. And give I like that, circle claps.
It's a round of applause.
That's beautiful, especially for
I love
Zoom.
I love it.
That one hit me. I've read it, obviously, and it hit me a little bit. Just, lost my father 2 years ago. And sometimes you hear a poem and you need to hear it exactly at the right time for you to hear it, just to kind of crack open something that you needed to touch. So thank you for that. Thank you so much for being in this project and being here to share today, Pauline.
Oh, you're welcome.
So, all right, let me bring up our next poet to the stage, Dr. Oliver T. Reed. I am so excited to have you here. How's it going today?
I'm doing great, Laura. How are you?
Oh, I am doing fabulous with all of you in my Zoom room. All right, you guys. Dr. Oliver T. Reed helps entrepreneurs, speakers, and coaches write and publish their books using the Milk writing system, MILK. We'll let him tell you about that a little bit. Oliver, why poetry for you?
Well, poetry is a language. It's a language in which my heart paves the road to the unknown.
Mm.
It is a place where I could speak without breaking the law. I become the law, and so poetry is everything for me.
Wow, that was a good one. Oh my. Okay. I cannot wait to hear the poem that you have ready to share with us today. Would you take a minute to introduce it and read for us?
Yes. I'm going to be kind of combining two. One is a haiku intro, and the next will be Muddy Eyes. Mud lines trace my feet, blind hands mold where sight has failed. Fire shapes what was formed. Muddy eyes. I used to think that mud meant my vision was gone. Blind in one eye, felt like I could not see the dawn. Everything's a blur, the lines ain't crisp, but I learned in the struggle, the mud, it ain't a miss. It's a mess age. Mess age. It's a metaphor, thick and slow. Like life, sometimes it's hard to know where to go. Have you ever had mud in your eyes? Not just the physical ones. From the inside, your spiritual, emotional lens, where the mess blurs your vision time and time again. It's a fight to see clear, a battle to fight. That vision ain't lost. It's just confined. See, the mud covers, hides all that's beneath. But beneath the cover, there's always belief. In the dark, in the dark, in the mess, in the thick of the fight. Vision ain't lost. It's just learning to find light.
Oh, I love that so much. Thank you. Oh my gosh. Mess age. and mud on your spiritual lens. I got a pretty intense visual with that line. Thank you for that. Thank you so much for being in my world and being in this project and just being here to share your heart and soul.
Thank you so much. Love you, Laura. Love everybody a part of this. Is so amazing.
Yeah, some good vibes here, huh? I love y'all too. Oh my gosh. And I've felt this poetry family grow and grow and grow since, I mean, it's all Kaniki's fault, y'all. She's next up here. Meeting her at one of these events here in the DC area was one of the best moments of my life, Miss Kaniki. I'm so honored and grateful to be bringing you up to this Zoom stage next. Let me get you up here. Give me a sec. So let me introduce you to Miss Kaniki Jakarta, featured on NBC, WUSA 9, and Comcast. Kaniki Jakarta is the first African-American poet laureate of Alexandria, Virginia, now serving as the inaugural poet in residence for Northern Virginia Fine Arts Association. This Amazon best-selling author and teaching artist's mission is to change the world one book and workshop at a time. Kaniki, yay. I know. I love reading your bio. You're such a badass girl. Tell me why poetry for you?
Poetry is actually my why. It is my purpose. It is my deepest emotions. Poetry is why I have survived, loss. Poetry is how I celebrate wins. Poetry is how I connect people. Poetry is how I connect to people. Poetry is how I met my husband. My child was born in Poetry Month. Poetry is absolutely my why. So why not poetry for you? Why not? I'm saying.
I love it. That was a poem, I think.
It was right. See, you're inspired. I'm going to write a poem now. Poetry is my why.
Kinnicky, you have a poem to share with us today. Would you take a minute to introduce it and read for us?
I would love to. Thank you, Laura. So this poem I wrote actually after a conversation that I had with my dear friend Asha, who is the purpose doula. I wrote this because she was going through a healing journey of her own. And sometimes as poets, we have to pause our poetry to participate in our own lives, right? So sometimes you're not writing. And then you don't feel like you are a poet when you're not writing anything. So this poem is dedicated to all the poets who had to put down their pen to organize their lives, to take care of themselves, to take care of somebody else, to go to work, or whatever it is that you had to do. So this poem is dedicated to you. Dear poet, when things aren't right and you can't write, hold on tight to your poet title, knowing that writing will return in time. When you cleared your mind, poetry will be near. Poetry is not impatient when you've lost your patience or become the patient. When things are a weight on you, poetry will wait for you, like children waits on their parents when it is apparent that you need to step away and regroup. Poetry will wait for you, like a groom waits on his bride. Take it all in stride. Poetry will sit in a period of delay. So even if you do not write today, poetry will wait and wait and wait. When you're starting a family, starting a new job, when life is hectic, when life is hard, through brokenheartedness to getting over this, poetry will wait for you. For goodness sake, when you are asleep and awake, when you've had all you can take, poetry will wait like a hopeful romantic when you're at ease or panic, when you're taking care of yourself, when you're caregiving for someone else. Poetry will never wait, will never give up on you. So hold all this to be true. You are the best thing that happened to poetry. No matter how long it has been, you will still be a poet as soon as you pick up your pen.
Oh, I love that so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
So much. I think that's a message to everybody in this room and all of our other poets. Yeah. Yeah, we've got to do a whole round.
A whole round of applause.
I love that so much. Thank you so much for being here, for saying yes to this and being a part of it, and for bringing a couple of your friends into the project as well. We can't wait, you guys, to see some of y'all in person. We're going to be April 5th for Poetry Month to celebrate. We're going to be at Busboys and Poets in Columbia, Maryland. So check out the link down below for information if you want to join us and meet some of these awesome people in person. Give them a little snap or clap in person for their awesome poetry. You guys, we're going to have a good time. And Kinnicky, you really are one of the biggest reasons I continue to do this and show up. I love that poem was perfect for today, I think, for a lot of us.
Thank you.
Okay, you guys. So, I'm going to read one too.
Read one. Read one. And coming to the Brave Healer stage.
Thank you. Thank you.
It is the Brave Healer herself, Laura DeFranco.
You're the best.
Because Laura and I used to host poetry together, so it's just natural.
You got to do it for each other, right? Thank you for that. That was super awesome. Show me a boulder. Show me a boulder on a river, and I'll show you the best therapist in the world. Her flat, sun-baked top beckons me to sit with myself longer than an hour. The bubbly rush of mountain spring, the only words I need. I find a seat where I feel safe. This feels like home, and the voices start. I'm open to listening here. I'm curious. Allow my belly to soften with the exhale. Her flat lines and bold curves spell confidence. I'm held. She's been there before, racked by the storm, trampled by unconscious fools who leave trash. I trust her silence. Wisdom sparkles from tiny specks, cracks, and lines. How I know what she's made of. Basking there, I notice the trees give the breeze a voice. The birds make it a song, and my beating heart sinking all along belongs to the rhythm. Show me a boulder on a river, a seat where my soul reigns queen. I connect with a higher self who can do this life today, even when the battle comes. So that's my poem for you guys today. Thank you. Thank you. I'm inspired a lot by nature. And so my walks on the river, the boulders, the trees, the everything, that's one of my biggest inspirations for my poetry. All right,
And that was so visual.
Oh, thank you. You were in there with me. You're seeing the birds, seeing the boulder. Okay, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
I
Well,
love
wait
the
a minute,
feels.
Laura.
Uh-oh.
Wait a minute, Laura. So why poetry?
Why
Oh
poetry?
God, you guys are gonna get me. Okay, I love that. Oh my gosh, why poetry? You have all said your answers that I would nod my head to and say ditto today. For so many reasons, poetry. Because I feel that it's my direct connection to the divine. And when I sit and need something, poetry moves through me from somewhere else, this place that I fully have grown to trust, this place that moves the messages through in a way that I can't not trust that. It's so magical. It's so, I don't know, gives, my little heart a hug when that happens. It's like a reminder, you're okay. You're on the right path. This is it. Come back here. That's what poetry says to me often. Come back here. And I so resonated with Kaniki's poem for so many reasons. Life is in the way all the time. And for some people, it's art. For some people, it's running. For some people, it's however you connect. It doesn't always have to be poetry. But if you haven't dipped your toe in the pool of poetry, we got the book for you.
You know it.
So thank you, Princess, for making me answer that question. I love it. I love it. Okay, I got one more question for all of you, and I really want to direct the answer to our listeners, to our readers today. This is so much more than just poetry. The poetry is enough. But what you guys are going to get in this book, in the series, is I've asked each author to share a story to allow you to get to know them a little. And they've brilliantly stepped up with a personal story in their chapter. And then you are going to read their beautiful poetry. And then we've asked them to give you a prompt. And on that page, the rest of the page is blank. We want you to write in this book. We want you to give yourself, a chance to try what moves through you on that page with all of their beautiful prompts. And so when we all came together to create this book, it was really because of our love for it and the power we know that is poetry, right? And we want you to try it too. So, Dr. Reed, what is the most important thing you want people to know about poetry?
Poetry, one of the biggest things that I want people to know is, like I talked about the mud. Mud does not define you. We are imprinted by what we hold on to. We're not what we touch. We are imprinted by what we hold on to. So poetry gives you the ability, like I said earlier, to not break the law. You create it. You create the parts of yourself that you want to take with you and recycle. So I love the part where, we live in a world where get this mud off of you, get these things, wash up. I remember my mom used to say that, boy, you're filthy, go wash up. And I realized that instead of throwing things in the trash, how about just recycling them? Poetry gives you the chance to recycle.
I love that.
I love that. Yeah.
You guys' answers are all poetry. I'm just going to snap for everything. I'm going to do this for everything today.
Yeah. Dr. Reed, when you said that, it just, I just had a vision of my mom saying, "You smell like outside."
Yes, yes. Same here. Do we
Oh
have
my
the same mom?
gosh.
That's that country saying right there.
Yeah.
I have had that said to me. Ooh, oh my. Okay. That's interesting. You smell like outside. Isn't that a good smell? Like, no, it's not a good smell.
No,
Okay.
it's not. It depends on what
And
outside you
no,
at.
and Black Mama language, no, it is not. It means do not come in my house like that.
Like that,
Oh
right.
my goodness.
So you brought all the elements.
All right. Kaniki, what's the most important thing you want people to know about poetry?
Well, Dr. Reed talked about holding on to things. Let me talk about letting go of things, right? So I remember when I was a child, my dad was throwing the football to my brother. And I said, "You never throw the football to me." So he said, "Okay." Well, then he would, when he would get the ball, he would say, "Go long," right? So he's throwing the ball really far, right? So he threw it to me, but I had a bag of potato chips in my hand, right? So I'm trying to catch the ball with the bag of potato chips in your hand. And then so he's like, "Are you trying to hold on to the potato chips or are you trying to catch the ball? Like you cannot hold on to the potato chips. It clearly and catch the ball." So he talked about things that you are holding on to. Let's talk about things that you want. In order to get those things, you need two hands to get them, right? You need concentration to get them. So poetry is the things that you can also grab a hold to and keep for the rest of your life. So some of them things you got to put down, some of them things you need to grab onto with two hands. So what are those things that you need two hands to hold on to? And what do you need to let go of so that you can get something new? So that's what poetry is. To some of y'all, that's something new. Yeah.
I love it. I love how you too. That's perfect. That was perfect. That was perfect.
Spirit fingers.
Oh.
Yes. All right, Pauline, let's move to you for this one. What's the most important thing you want people to know about poetry?
I love the excitement around the poetry. For me, I think poetry is so unique. Like it's not right or wrong or good or bad. It's so unique to you and your story and your spirit. And you can write it, and there's no judgment in poetry. It's free of judgment of ourselves, of others, of any situation. And so I think what I would want people to know is that anyone can be a poet.
That's
You
a
just have
really
to express yourself.
powerful message. Yeah, I believe that too. I think everybody is a poet. They just learned something in school that told them otherwise, and they believed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that too. No rules. No rules. Poetry is soul. You know the visual you just gave me? I love journaling, of course, but I have also been I like spreading the magazines on the table and doing journal collage sometimes. And I'll just cut the photos or cut words and glue them into my journal page. And that instead of writing, it's a visual of my, and you gave me this visual of poetry as soul being those little cutouts of my soul. When I make a poem or share a poem, it's like that's the gift you give people. They get to see part of your essence. I mean, that's a big deal to me. It's big potato stuff to me, you guys. I don't know about you. Um,
Yeah.
all right, Princess, you're going to close us out on this one today. What's the most important thing you want people to know about poetry?
Well, I was sitting here thinking, I think it's a combination of what everyone has said. Um, and so the first thing that I thought was that I'm really bad with plants in terms of keeping them alive. And I had a discovery like a couple, like my friend came over a couple weeks ago, Cash, and she's really into plants. And I said, I'm going to keep one plant. My mom used to have a pathos plant, one of those vines that just goes on and on and on. And I was like, how do you keep this thing alive? Because I kill every plant that I've ever had. And I'm like, I don't know if I overwater it or underwater it. What is going on? And my friend, she came and she said, there were leaves that were dying on it, but she said, overrun it with water because the soil was super dry. And I said, but if I overrun it, won't it won't it die? And she was like, no, it's gonna revive it. And I'm like, I've never heard that. I've never heard run a bunch of water over it and that is going to change the plant and make it. I was like, it was so dry that it needed more water. I say that to say my chapter is called Motherhood Don't Come with No Manual. But the reason that it's named that is because of the relationship with my mom who is now passed. But in order to become the poet that I am, I had to have the relationship with my mother that I did so that the writing could come out. But the first part that had to happen was something had to die so the poet in me could live. What that physically was in my life was my father. So my father had to die so that my mother and I could have the interactions that we would have, so that I could feel the void that was necessary to create the poetry that was going to come. That would not have happened. So something had to die for this part of me to live. And so when I think about what I want people to know about poetry is that, oftentimes we think about, they say we die 1,000 deaths, right? And deaths are not, and if, when I understood the beauty in my father's death, as I'm beginning to understand the beauty in my mother's death, but they actually aren't dead, they are physically dead, but the spirit of everything that they're passed on to me, which revived, much like the plant was revived when I overwatered it. So I want people to know that your poet in you comes alive when you understand what has to die so that it can. And then you look at death very differently and you welcome it and embrace it. Not that you won't be sad, but that you will embrace. I welcome now the deaths that have to come so the things can live, the beautiful things that can live afterwards. So that's what I want people to know.
Oh, that's a big one. We might need to stay here 3 more hours on that one, you guys.
Yeah.
So true.
That's a big one. Seeing the beauty in everything that happens to us happens for us. These are different ways to say what Princess was saying. That is a way of living that is pretty amazing to have that perspective, and a really, really beautiful way to wrap this up as an example of what's in here in this beautiful book. Wow. This is going to be the favorite part of my day, you guys. Melissa, Princess Best, Pauline Pinedo, Dr. Oliver T. Reed, Kaniki Jakarta. Thank you all so much. Thanks for what you do in the world. And thank you for being here today to share it with everyone. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
So, you guys, this is way more than a book. This is a generous community of people who are waiting for you to reach out. I have everybody here hooked up with their websites down below. Go explore what they're up to. They will answer the question you have. They will continue the conversation that we started. We did some juicy topics today, right? And they're waiting for you to reach out. No one is alone, not in this community. So please explore, see what's going on in their worlds. Come to April 5th at Busboys in Columbia. Join us, meet some of the poets. We would love to see you and meet you. Every purchase you make of 100 poems goes to help support our nonprofit partner, the Inkwell. This is a nonprofit founded by Miss Kyanne Thomas, who is another brilliant poet in this book. And the Inkwell supports DC area youth with therapeutic writing programs. I've been a passionate board member for a couple of years now. So you guys are helping me help her with those purchases this first quarter of our launch. Please go grab your book on Amazon. I've got the link below. Lastly, today, everyone, remember, your words change the world when you're brave enough to share them. So it is time to be brave. See you next time, everyone.